Hi, it's Rachel. When we go through this process of, in the core of our soul, the eye of our soul becoming infused and attached to our Heavenly Father, we truly become a new creation. Because when the very core of us is filled with His love, okay, the love of divinity, which is a whole different place that you come from in your perceptions, in your thoughts, and it affects everything that you do. Just like when you hold those lies that you're insignificant or you're unlovable or you're rejected, then that taints everything that you do, and it creates a life of fear and lack. It creates a life reflecting death. It creates a life reflecting a separation from the love of God, even though the love of God is always there. But when those lies are our truth, it taints everything and it corrupts our soul. So it's very, very significant. And this new birth of our soul, of instead that very core of us being attached to the love of God, being filled with His love, being a part of the divine nature, having that love of divinity in our very core and emanating out, means that everything in us absolutely changes. I mean, our soul becomes of a substance of the divine nature of God. It completely changes. It becomes a new creation because of that birth of that life and that love in the very center of us. So when that happens, we start stepping into immortality. But this is very important because it seems very simple. And it is simple, it's not complex. That's why when you look at the two commandments that Jesus Christ said about love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and love others as yourself. The thing is that though everything really does come down to those two things, and if you focus on really what those two commandments look like in your life, being manifested, actualized in your life, then you're going to learn a lot about what love is. And the second commandment about loving others as ourselves, that's what we always do anyway. We treat others ultimately based on how we treat ourselves and how we feel. So if we have that in us, down in our core, that we feel insignificant, then that is ultimately how we treat other people. So when we have that in that emptiness, okay, which is reflecting the lack of love, that we're not attached to it, when we have that emptiness there, then the love of God cannot fully flow through us because it blocks it, because it's tainting everything. It's like when that love comes in, remember, it just has to flow through us. But if we have all those fears and lies, then one, we can't fully receive the love, and then we certainly can't give it. Because everything that we're seeing in our perception is tainted by those lies. It affects the outflow. So in order for us to be attached to the Heavenly Father in a very intimate way, as being a part and taking on part of His divinity and being partakers of that divine nature as His children, then we have that part of us, we have to have His life, His love in us, in that most deepest part of our core, because that's the only way that that flow can happen. If the lies exist there, you can't receive it. You can't receive the inflow of His divine love, and therefore there's no outflow. So this is very essential to fulfilling those two commands as well. It's so in order to fulfill those two commands, we have to have this new life, this new, which is that love of divinity born and come into being in us, which I described in that other video, through those going through those different birth pains, those successions of facing that fear in different intensities, to where we face the realness of that fear to us, the realness of God's love and that divine love that He's sown in us, and we see that the fear is only a lie. In the face of that truth, in the face of that light, that darkness is consumed. And that there's a final kind of push, which is just like when a child is born, that you push through. And sometimes when you're facing that fear, it can be so intense that you feel like you can't go on anymore. It's just like when a woman is having a child. It's like it gets so intense. It's like, ugh, I can't go on anymore. Well, that's right when the child comes forth. And the child for us is that it's like it's us. It's His love being born in us in a way that manifests and creates a new soul, a new reflection. It's making our essence become what it was always meant to be. So we are who we are, but everything that was corrupted, all the soul corruption that came out of those lies and all that they created, all of that goes away. We're totally a new creation. So it comes down to that final piece of uprooting that in the very core of you. So and that is very important, because that's the only way, again, that love, that you can be attached to that divine love of God, and that love of God can flow through you, because it has to be it's like a stream. So if there's boulders in the way, it can't flow. So what He's doing is removing all the boulders, and He removes a lot so that you build up the faith in the soul that He's reshaping in you, so that you have enough faith to overcome those lies. And it's like that's the last stone to be pulled away, so that His love can just flow through you and fill all of you and flow outward. It's such a beautiful transformation, but it does come through going through, in a sense, like a woman going through those childbirth pains. Sometimes how it comes, because the pain is coming from facing those lies head on. Because when you see them for what they are, but then you are prepared with that love that God's been crafting and showing and teaching you, it fills you. And when you have that, then you can have the flow, and then you can have the power in your love and in your life, because now you have become a soul that is attached to God in a very intimate and personal way for all eternity.